like when I was broke and getting started, I just wanted to make 5 or 10K a month. That would be life changing. But I'll tell you, it's a far bigger flex to like build 5 or 10K in a way where it's sustainable, and you're just going to get paid that forever. We look at them like, oh, they're doing 20 million a year, they got it all figured out. But the opposite is true. Behind the scenes, it's a hamster wheel, and they're trying to keep up because just with TV alone, there's 27 things they got to think about. People generally think, I'll get hired as step 1, and as step 2, I'll make a plan for how I'm going to get you results. And if you just simply reverse the order and say, I have a plan to get you results, now fucking hire me to go execute it, you'll make so much more money. Look at today, we got some superpowers. I don't know if this thing does anything, but I just love how fucking cool it looks. As a kid, I was always fascinated by other planets and galaxies and just pondering how big the universe, could be, this endless thing that we live in. So I thought, why not give me something cool that reminds me? Appreciate you guys all coming back for another chapter, by the way. Shameless plug for the book. Excited to see you guys again, kicking ass, taking names. Just generally being awesome. We are back for another agency edition of Kicking Ass and Taking Names. And for those of you guys who don't know me already, well, I've done this agency thing a couple of times. It's still hard, 16 years later. Quick announcement just before we get rocking and rolling, which is that the Wolfpack's just getting cooler. We're building out, especially those of you guys who want to start bringing inbound instead of chasing. I know everybody says you got to do outreach and all those kind of things, but I'm a much bigger believer in intelligently putting out authority-driven content that brings people coming to you pre-sold, pre-positioned to buy, knowing that you're the only choice and you're the expert they want to use. That's a way better way to get clients, in my opinion, and also doing that one-to-many. So we're going to be talking more about that. I haven't even updated the details on the site, but that's the direction we're headed. So I thought you would, if you're interested in that, checking that out, it is link posted below. So let's get into the good stuff now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. Ba-dum-bum-bum-ba-dum. Whoosh. I don't think you guys were prepared to have tickets to the gun show this week. Let's start with Mohammed, who says, I've been trying to hit the jackpot with all kinds of different creatives for this client in the turf installation niche. This has been comfortable at $100 per lead, and I've been trying to crack the code on this one. Finally, I started using some amazing before and images with a stupidly simple design, and the cost came down to $33 from $100. If you haven't tried stupid simple before and after images, you might be missing the gold mine. Mohammed, my man, I appreciate you mentioning that, because I actually did a free training on, which you guys can find in the Facebook group for those of you guys on the YouTube channel, and it's called Dramatic Demonstrations. And if you've ever, I don't know if any of you guys ever did this as a kid, but I did. I stayed up and watched stupid infomercials on network television when I couldn't go to sleep back in the day. And when you see these infomercials, there is always 100 times out of 100 some kind of dramatic demonstration to sell the product. So instead of, if they got a vacuum cleaner, they don't tell you the vacuum is awesome. They grab a heap of gunk and they pour it on some carpet and then they vacuum it up and go, look, it even cleans up fucking cigarette ashes, right? Or whatever it is. Or they have I don't know if you guys ever saw the slappy choppy thing. They're like, give me something and I'll make dinner, and pop, 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 pop. And the guy slappy chops it in 5 seconds. And there's a reason why infomercials did that for 1 billion years. And that's because it fucking works. Now, what happens a lot of times is when people get into YouTube ads or Facebook ads or things like that, is they try and find some perfect word combination. And I found if you can, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I think a demonstration is worth 1,000 pictures. And if you can demonstrate how your shit works in terms of simple before and after pictures, you're going to sell a ton of shit. In this 90-day challenge that we've been working on, the contractors that we're working with, I tell them, Get me before and after pictures to sell your work. Every job, take a picture before, take a picture after, and give them to me because that's the thing that's going to sell it the most. And so you're simply alluding to, this is how weight loss has been sold for 1 billion years. It's like, here's a picture of Frankie Finn, all fat with a dad gut, and now I did this exercise program and I'm in shape. They sold it through before and after. And a lot of times, I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried this, but on Facebook ads, I've spent a lot of fucking money over the years on Facebook ads, and I've tried, I don't know, seemingly fucking everything. And I remember one time we tried like all kinds of like typical like lawyery stuff. So, you know, like gavels and scales of justice and those kind of things. And we tried like animals. We had a dog with a briefcase and things like that. We tried, I don't know, $100,000 plus in variations tested. And what we found, the thing that worked the best is just fucking show them like before and after if you can. And a lot of you guys, you don't always have before from your clients, but you got after, right? You can show them like, these were the rankings before, these are the rankings after, or this was what your website looked like before, this is what it looks like now, right? So it's the simplest thing in the world, and it just fucking works. Like, don't get too creative on the images. Just show people like what your shit does and create a little mini dramatic demonstration, and it'll work wonders. And if you haven't seen that training already, I highly suggest you check it out, because it'll get you away from trying to make your message hit with words and start thinking about how you can do it with images and pictures. And when you do that with images and pictures, what happens is clients get what you do in like 3 seconds. So hope that makes sense. Jeremy says, looking at implementing a Loom video strategy, can you provide examples of a Loom video they've created, or can anyone provide an example of a Loom video they've created to inspire some ideas on how to craft it? Here's the deal with Loom videos, just so you guys know. If you guys are around this marketing game for like more than a little while and you innovate stuff a little bit, even if it's not like a crazy amount, somebody out there is going to steal your shit. I've probably been ripped off, I don't know, 24 times, I would say. It's probably in the ballpark of 24 times over like, and it's always hilarious when they do. Like, I remember I had like the 7 things you need to do to run a top law firm, and a lady like copied it and she put the 8 things you need to grow a top law firm. I had this like long stream of consciousness, and then she added point number 8, hire me to do this for you. She like stole my whole shtick and then just added in one sentence and said like, pay her, right? So people will do shit like that. And so there's a reason why I don't show you guys my newest Loom stuff. But having said that, like if you guys go to the Wolfpack, like you go to beyondagencyprofits.com and then click on the Wolfpack and watch the video, it's a Loom video. And the only difference why it's a little bit longer is because it's a marriage offer instead of like a first date. So it requires more proof or demonstration elements at the beginning. So the beginning segment is longer, but the rest of the video is exactly the same. Having said that, I'm happy to send any of you guys older copies of Loom videos. Just message me privately. Just understand, you're only going to see the oldest technology and not the newest stuff we're using, because if I show you my newest stuff, somebody will just try and steal it, because that's what people do on the internet. So, but having said that, I'm happy to show you. And there's also, for those of you guys who haven't seen, there's a training where we walk you through exactly how to do it. It's basically 4 parts, and these 4 parts come from, if you do a lot of sales calls, you'll notice they're all the same. Like, people just wonder, like, what kind of results can you get from me? You often spend like 30, 40 minutes like diving into their pain and painting a picture of what life could be like after they fix it, just so they can figure out like, this is what it can do. And then they wonder like a more personal thing, like, well, that sounds interesting, but will it work for me personally in my situation? And then they wonder like, how does it work? And then they wonder like, how much is it? And so a Loom video is just like taking those elements of a sales call and fast forwarding them. And the magic of 5 minutes, just so you guys know, like people ask me like, why 5-minute Loom videos? Because when I first started testing it, I actually didn't fucking know if it would work. And I didn't want to pay for Loom. Loom's only like 10, 20 bucks a month, something like that. It's like, it's not really expensive. But I didn't want to pay for software if I wasn't like for sure going to use it. So I would make the pitch, and what would happen is the free version of Loom cuts you off at 5 minutes. So if you got a 5-minute and 8-second pitch, it'll cut you off like 8 seconds early. And so I had to figure out how to condense the pitch into 5 minutes. And then eventually, like, you know, once you get the full paid version, you can like do much longer. But I was like, nah, it kind of makes sense just to do it 5 minutes. And like I've said many times, and this is the most important thing that I want people to understand, it is conducive to busy, successful people with money, because their biggest risk is not losing money. They have money already. Their biggest risk is losing what precious little fucking time they have already. And so if you say, like, jump on a 60-minute call with me or schedule a call, like, there's a giant risk of wasted time. But if you say, watch this 5-minute video, like, not only is it only 5 minutes, but they can turn it off any moment they want. And so, like, it's just more conducive to folks with money. And so I'm suggesting you guys check it out for that reason. But I'm happy to send examples to your question, Jeremy, of older stuff for anybody who's interested. Oral says, phone rings. Hi, thanks for your delivery order with our restaurant. Your order is over 100 leva. You're eligible for a free drink. What would you like? This has never happened before. I'll give this restaurant a top review on Google. We'll recommend it, and we'll remember it for eternity. That's the power of minimal over-delivery. A free drink costs them near nothing. The impact is massive. Yeah, on the subject of over-delivery, I wrote about this in the book for those of you guys who haven't seen it. But I learned kind of, like, most of this I learned from Joey Coleman's Never Lose a Customer Again, which I can't seem to find right this second. These two books right here have been kind of a game changer on over delivery. Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman and Giftology by John Ruhlin. They kind of go hand in hand. Another shameless plug to our man Josh Nelson, who I wrote a foreword in there, by the way. But he kind of took those principles and put them to the agency space. But point being about these three books is the idea is, especially like in the onboarding stages, is little extras go a long fucking way, as Oral kind of alluded to, where it's like, in his case, like, hey, you spent a certain amount of money, we want to give you a free drink. Costs them almost nothing, makes you happy. I used to see this. I used to have a fishmonger at my local fish market, and he used to put his prices, and he would not put, so where I'm from, it's a border city, so sometimes they use Canadian and American units. So, what's up, Jeremy? So on a border city, he would put like $9.99 next to the fish, and people always go, is that per pound or per kilogram, right? Because one's a deal and one's not. And he would always tell me he would put a fake out price on it and offer the person, actually, I can get it to you for $8.99 because I like you. And then he would always include something extra. And he did it on purpose, his fake out pricing, because everybody left feeling like they got something extra. This is so powerful because not enough people understand it. Set expectations and then intentionally exceed them with little touches. And exceeding them aren't always what people think. It's not always like, I'll get you more leads than I promised I would do. It's the little extras you do with the relationship. So I'll tell you what's been our go-to for a lot of years is we send cookies, brownies, salted caramel apples, and things like that with edible arrangements. And the reason I use edible arrangements, I like edible arrangements, just so for those of you guys who aren't familiar with the company, they make like fruit baskets shaped like, and they shape the fruit into like flowers and stuff like that. That's what they're most known for. I don't use them for that personally because I don't know, like not everybody likes fruit equally, but everybody seems to like cookies and brownies. But the reason I use them is because they're fucking unbelievable fast. So somebody signs up with you and they're wondering like, is this a good decision? And then like literally 2-3 hours later, there's a knock at the door, and at their office they're like, what's that? Cookies and brownies. I didn't order cookies and brownies. Oh, it's a gift. Oh, we just want to welcome you in style, Frankie Finn. Like all of a sudden, like their entire perception of you as a company is night and day different. And the thing about it is, this can be engineered and created time after time after time. It's not like we're sending a different gift to each client. We have a standardized gift and we send it over and over. And this is the power of over delivering. But when most people think of over delivering, they think about over delivering in terms of the actual service itself. Better SEO. I'm gonna make a website that loads even faster. And it's actually, you want to think about unexpected client touches. Hey, I got you a free drink. I got you some food. I sent you a gift. Here's a bobblehead. Here's a knife with your name. Here's some swag. We've used like, here's an iPhone charger that you can use in your office branded with all your stuff on it, right? It's those little, here's some fridge magnets with your cool cartoony logos on it, like stuff like that, like things they were not expecting are actually the things that over deliver the most and make them think. And I'll tell you one that we've used for years is you just go on Facebook or any other social media, you find a nice picture of their family, you save the picture, and then you get it framed and send it to them for like $30-40. And you say, hey, I want you to remember who and what's important to you. Every time they look at their family, who they love, they're going to associate that with you. And so these little extra touches are actually what keeps clients the long term. And this is why this is so important. And I want to just kind of make this point. I've mentioned this before, but the first time I ever got hired for consulting, there were two big, the biggest lawyers in Jacksonville. There's two brothers named Eddie and Chuck. And Eddie and Chuck invited me down to come down and like consult for them. And it was really interesting to me because I remember I was showing them a bunch of stuff with SEO, and then they were like, we want you to consult for us. And I was like, well, I don't do SEO anymore. So like I haven't for a few years. And they said, that's exactly why we want you, because you have nothing to sell us. And yet you understand this stuff. We don't, right? So you can give us an honest opinion where everybody else is trying to sell us their things. So we don't know how to make heads or tails of any of it. I said, cool. I went down there and I realized that they were essentially getting ripped off from their existing SEO company. So I asked him, how much are you paying this guy? And he said, $10,000 a month. And I said, and how long have you had him? And he said, about 10 years. And I quickly did the math. Now, this is a guy who was number one in TV, number one in billboards, number one in radio, number one in pay-per-click, and yet was like number 15 in SEO, right? Like, and also has like tons of media and stuff to help himself. So it's like, why the hell are you not ranking? And I did the math. $10,000 per month is $120,000 per year. If you stay for 10 years, it's $1.2 million. So he had paid $1.2 million and never fucking ranked in his entire life. And I said, like, Eddie, like, why are you still paying this guy if he's not like getting the job done? And he said, well, he's my golfing buddy and we go golfing every Friday, right? And that's an example of a little extra touch. That personal relationship. It's hard to fire your golfing buddy, right? So he had ended up paying this guy over $1 million essentially to play golf with him because he wasn't doing much on the SEO front. And I say that to you guys because a lot of times we think if we get better, we build a better website or we make a better funnel or we get the lead cost down another $5, that'll make clients happy. And almost always it's none of that. It's the personal relationship. It's the unexpected picture in the mail. It's all those kind of things. So hope that sheds some light on this. But those little extras make you set up just to like win and keep clients for the long term. And they can be engineered on purpose, like put into a process where you say the same thing and you give the same gift and you do it at the same time interval and it's just like repeated ad nauseum, right? Lachen, I love this name, says, what do you think are some of the best AI services to offer local businesses in today's market? I think if you don't think about AI as AI, because AI is just another hammer, it's an exciting hammer to all of us in the marketing space. But like, again, business owners don't wake up and think about SEO. And so here's how I think about most valuable shit. And it's such a simple analogy, but if you really understand this, you'll make so much more money, so much fucking easier than what everybody else is doing. If you think about a high ticket sale, like an American football field where they're trying to go 100 yards down to the other end of the field, what most people do kind of metaphorically is they focus on bringing people opportunities that are 100 yards away. I'm going to get cold leads on Facebook. I'm going to get strangers from Google. I'm going to, run Google ads and get new traffic. I'm going to run TikTok and get cold leads. I'm going to run Facebook ads. And what ends up happening is the reason why people do that is because if you talk to 100 business owners, that's what 99 of them will tell you they need. But here's the truth. Is they are losing balls all the way down the football field. And I'll give you an example of this, okay, so you guys can wrap your head around it. I was talking to Mark Diodati when he was inside of our Loom workshop, and one of the things he was doing is he was trying to run Facebook ads for HVAC, and it was all this struggle and all this difficulty and all this misery because there's so many other people doing it, and he wasn't particularly, like, great at it, like outstanding, and he's like having a hard time selling. And I said, what did you do before this? And he said, well, I actually worked in HVAC for 15 years. And I said, okay, what did you do? And he said I was a salesperson. And I said, like, how did that go? And he said, I was number one salesperson in the company, like year after year. And I said, how did you do that? And he said, well, what typically happens is if you present 10 offers, like 10 proposals, you'll close 3 of them. And then I said, yeah. And so what did you do differently? He said, well, the only thing I did differently is I called back the other 7 people who weren't deals like a week later, and I followed up with them, and I'd ask them, like, is it price? Is there anything we can do? And so I got most of my extra deals. I would get 1 or 2 extra deals from every 7 or 10 calls, and so I outperformed everybody else by like 50% just following up with the almost deals. And then I said to him, like, why can't you offer that as a service to people? And the example of that is, here, like, if you think about it as a football field, like moving somebody, there's a cold person who's never heard of this HVAC company, and so you advertise to them on Facebook, and then they may check out an ad and read a little bit about you and maybe read some reviews, and then they may call and pick up the phone, and then they may have somebody come in person, and then they may talk to that person for an hour and ask them about their house and those details, and then they may get a proposal, and they may even read it and think about it and then decide not to buy it. But they're not like totally a no. That's an example of somebody who's like 10, 20 yards down the field. They're away from the end zone. They're like in the red zone, right? So Mark ended up creating what he calls his rehash. And as soon as he did that, he had like, I don't know, like 20 people who wanted to hire him like immediately because everybody needed it. So if to answer the original question, if I was going to sell AI services, I would focus on an opportunity within your niche that is 10 to 20 yards close to the end zone. So you think like my buddy Dan Wardrope, we're actually going to be dropping that in this group soon. But he built an AI chatbot, and the reason it works is because somebody's already clicked an ad, watched some stuff, read some reviews, got to the website, and now they have some questions before they're considering purchasing. But that's somebody who's like 10, 20 yards away from the end zone, right? So the more you help people punch the ball into the end zone and be like a short goal line running back with AI, that's where you're going to make your money. And so, like lots of things you could do with AI is like following up with past customers, helping them create upsells, campaigns for existing clients, chatbots on their website, helping them follow up with leads quickly, automated texts and things like that for people who are interested. But I think about all the opportunities that are 10, 20 yards away from the end zone. And if you do that and focus less on cold traffic, your AI will crush it because it'll convert to what they ultimately want, which is sales, right? Like, why does the HVAC guy tell you I need 100 new leads? Because he fucking believes that's the only way to get 30 new clients. He doesn't believe the 70 who said no, that like there's any of them that can be rescued, right? So the other thing is you can like use the flow they've already created with like the right kind of AI system. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm not saying that's the be all end all answer, but I feel like for most of you guys, if you just focus on an opportunity in your niche that's 10, 20 yards from the end zone, you'll have endless opportunities to use AI, make money, and have AI do the heavy lifting. Like Dan's chatbot, for example, is like they install the chatbot on the website, it helps them convert leads and sales, and it ain't you doing it, it's the chatbot that's doing it, right? Like that's the magic of it, right? So, but it works because it's an opportunity that's 10 yards from the end zone. This is a comment from me, actually, but I decided to put it in this week's Q&A just because I wanted to rant on it. It says, overrated Stripe screenshots, underrated retention. Okay, I want to talk to you guys for a second about the fucking dirty side of this business, okay? So everybody, like, I'll tell you why I don't like even posting Stripe screenshots, because I feel like it brings the wrong people with the wrong kind of message. There is a thing I've seen, by the way, I've seen this since 2007 when I first started. People would post online, hey, I just got my first SEO client. They're paying me $1,000 a month. What do I do now? And like, I'm not knocking it because we all start somewhere. What's up, Hetty? Everybody starts somewhere. Right? So I'm not like knocking that. But the problem with that is like what nobody talks about, like if you get a client on the basis of having made a big promise and you have like no ability to fulfill on the promise you just made, or you're going to figure that out as we go, what happens is those clients end up 2-3 months later really fucking pissed off and they say, give me back my fucking money. Give me my money, you motherfucker, right? Like that you'll see that. And so I see this all the time, and like I've seen a lot of these agency offers that are like, I'll get you 100 booked appointments per month guaranteed, or I'll pay you $1,000. And the problem with that is, like, okay, it's a cool hook that gets people in the door, but very few of the people making those promises can actually fulfill on them. And so all that happens is 2-3 months later, pissed off people demand refunds. And so the reason I say that is that's not a real fucking business. And if you guys are like serious about doing this, you want a real fucking business where people come in the door predictably on an offer that you can actually fulfill on, and they stay and pay for a long fucking time. And I don't claim to have this all figured out, by the way. I still make mistakes in a lot of this, just so you guys know. But my biggest brag point for me is that my oldest client's been with me since late 2009. 2009. And I'll tell you, it makes life a lot easier when you can forecast payments into the future and know you're like still going to have a client that's going to be with you, right? So what's that? 14 years we've been doing stuff together, and we're still happily collaborating now. I'm not saying every situation works out, but what you want to think about in order to do that is one Small but meaningful promise that you can actually fulfill on that, over deliver. And when I say over deliver, I don't always mean like better service. I mean better pieces around it. Better, like I said, like send a picture of their family. That's an example of over delivering. And then, focus on like great communication. And great communication to me is more proactive and less reactive, meaning you update clients even before they ask shit. If you do that, you'll actually fucking keep people and build a real business, and it'll have momentum. And I can see this because I've had people in the mastermind where they say, well, I'm just kind of slowly plodding along and I wish I could go faster. And then they look at somebody else who like signed 20 clients. But if you sign 20 clients on the basis of promises that you can't meet and they end up all quitting or demanding refunds like 2-3 months later, you're not fucking getting anywhere. So that's like, to me, the business that's actually like slowly plodding forward is actually going faster, even though it doesn't look like that on the surface. So the reason I say this is the most important single metric in your fucking agency is how long people stay, and not on the basis of like, how many Stripe screenshots. Because like I said, nobody posts Stripe screenshot number 37 because it's just fucking normal that they pay you, right? It's only people that like are not used to making sales and not used to having happy clients that like kind of post those. So I feel like the Stripe screenshots, I want to rant on this, are deceptive. I see so much of this like, we'll get you 0 to 10K and we'll help you to scale, even though I don't personally consider 10K to be anything close to scale. But nonetheless, it's like, it's very deceiving to the industry, and I understand it. It's super appealing when you're just broke. Like when I was broke and getting started, I just wanted to make 5 or 10K a month. That would be life changing. But I'll tell you, it's a far bigger flex to like build 5 or 10K in a way where it's sustainable, and you're just going to get paid that forever. So I hope that's helpful to you. Jeremy says, not sure if you have to answer this live, but any advice on breaking into a new niche without clients in that niche? Yes, lots, my dude. Rant incoming. Okay, so thing number 1 is when you get into a new niche is fucking learn everything you can about them. Their words, their messaging, what their problems are, and their challenges. I don't think enough people lead with ears. They lead with, I do SEO, so how am I going to sell SEO? And I use this story to illustrate the point. In my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, there's like way too many auto body shops. It's like an automotive city. And I think the reason why there's so many auto body shops is because like a lot of dudes just think, I don't want to work for anybody else, I'm going to start an auto body shop. Problem with that is there's too many of them, right? The market does not need another auto body shop, certainly not another mediocre auto body shop, right, where there's nothing unique and there's nothing special. So this is the example that I give that illustrates this fucking point. I was at my brother's house, Chinese food driver knocks on the door with Chinese food. Him and his wife are arguing. After all the drama, we get some Chinese food. 5 minutes later, guy knocks on the door again. And he had smashed into my brother's car, which was parked, and then that parked car smashed into my girlfriend's car, and she had a Volkswagen Beetle. And the reason I remember it is because we went to, as part of the insurance process, we went to 3 different auto body shops, and they all said, sorry, but we don't do Volkswagens. And the insurance makes you go to all 3 and get a quote. And so they all said, there's a guy on Drouillard Road, he focuses just on Volkswagens, go to him. And he was busy for like anywhere from like 2 to 4 weeks. I don't remember the exact timeline. It's been a while. But when he was there, he said, like, give this information to your insurance. They'll give you a loaner car. I'll get it all fixed. But, I'll get to it when I can get to it. And I'll keep you guys updated on when that is. And I remember, now, the reason I say this is because the difference between a business that is entirely owner-driven, like I'm going to start an auto body shop because I want to start one, and a business that is market-driven, meaning it actually fulfills market needs, is often just 10% different. I mean, what's the difference between I fix banged-up cars and I fix banged-up Volkswagens? Like, not a fucking great heap of difference. You're like, yeah, there might be a little bit of specialization and a little bit of knowledge. And only that can happen is with ears, with somebody saying, like, hey, can you fix Volkswagens, right? So what I like to do is I join communities where my people hang out. I also have a training on this called the Unfair Sales Advantage. And I read all their comments, all their messages. Like, if I'm breaking into dentists, I want to know everything that dentists hate about being a dentist and where they feel stuck and problems and challenges. And almost always, like, it creates like a 10% shift in your deliverable that has a massive effect on whether it works, because the person who has an auto body shop, their entire business is uphill after that point. The person who has like a market driven, like this actually fulfills a need, like they're going to be busy with Volkswagens forever, right? So that's the first thing, is coming up with like something they actually want. Okay. Second thing, and I don't think enough people do this, is when you don't have large amounts of proof in terms of testimonials, case studies, a mountain of like, here's the 50 websites we ranked already, or things like that, shrink the size of the ask. So it's the difference between when I first started with SEO, this was my offer. Work with me for a year and pay me for that year every month, and hopefully I'll get you ranked because I'm pretty good at it, but no guarantees because it's bigger than just me. It's Google and they're fucking crazy. And that's a hard to say yes to offer, right? That's like a give me money for a year, no guarantees, it's expensive, hope it works. Long commitment, no guarantee of success, right? So what you want to do is not like make these overly stupid marketing promises, is you want to make smaller, more meaningful promises and shorten the length of time that they have to say yes to. Like, let me run a 7-day campaign and we'll know at the end of 7 days whether or not this shit is going to work. And I'll tell you, the secret to making small but meaningful promises is this number right here. 1. The most small and the most valuable small but meaningful promise is almost always one of something. So for a lot of years, like our motorcycle case offer was like, we'll get you 1 motorcycle case in the next 90 days. Right? And the other thing is that can actually be fulfilled on, right? Like I'm just saying, I'm going to get you 1 person. That's it. Right? The other, like, or we say like, hey, we'll get you 1 motorcycle lead for, I think we were charging $40, right? And we could get them all day long at 10 on Facebook. So I'll get you a motorcycle lead for 40 and I'll nurture them for a year and a half for you. Right? Those kind of things, like the best small but meaningful promises are one of something. Usually when people struggle with getting clients, it's either they have a Me Too offer or the size of the ask is too big. And then, of course, like get in front of those people and make offers. Like in stage 1 of growing an agency, like if you're in a new niche and you're starting over, you go back to stage 1, even if you're like not in a stage 1 or you've been past that. And the secret to getting out of stage 1, get in front of people in your market and make offers to them. I know it sounds overly simple, but like you'd be amazed at how many times people do things that are not that. Oh, I'm going to update the logo on my website for the 27th time. And you got a website that nobody even fucking knows exists, right? So like I'm not, picking on you, Jeremy, specifically or anything like that. I'm just saying I see that as a common mistake in the faith, in that, or, constantly like playing with the contact form and like, I'm going to get everything perfect. I'm going to get my logo just right. I'm going to get my colors just right. I'm going to update my website again. And at the end of the day, only real conversations with people. But if you do those 3 things where you focus on like, who are these people and what do they want? And how can I like actually help them? And then you create like a small but meaningful offer that like is not a big risk to them to say yes to. And then you like go in front of those people and put that offer in front of them. Like, what you're going to find is like it'll work. It just works. Like, and a lot of times people get hung up in like, should I use Facebook ads or cold outreach? And like, they all have pros and cons, but like it works. Like figure out what your market wants, make a small but meaningful offer to give it to them, and then fucking put it in front of them. I know it sounds like simple, but you'd be amazed at how many times people make it more complex than it needs to be. How would you fix Eddie the Roofer's business? Eddie the Roofer. Good times with Eddie. Yeah, sometimes I actually just because I kind of want to rant on this a little bit, Zach. I think the biggest hidden metric in agency success is client selection. And I don't think people understand that enough. And I wish I knew this earlier, but it's more about helping winners win more than it is about turning losers into winners. And so for that reason, like, you don't fix Eddie the Roofer's business. That's the secret. And a lot of times I'll tell you the biggest reason people don't is they look at a business that's already doing like $20 million a year. Or I remember the first time I walked into a law firm that was doing $100 million a year, and they said like, we want your advice. And I'm like, why? Like, you guys are already doing $100 million a year. But then you get in on the inside, and anybody who's worked for a big dumb company can confirm this, is they have an insane amount of shit to manage. So like in the case of the law firm, they do TV ads. That's like, they spend a lot of money on TV, and TV has a lot of shit you got to pay attention to. It's got media buying, which channels, which times, how frequently, Which creatives do you run? Who makes the ads? How do you get them recorded? Who helps? And that's just one media that they're running. Then they're running radio. Then they're running billboards. They're running SEO and pay-per-click. And so this is counterintuitive, but they have more problems, not less. We look at them like, oh, they're doing 20 million a year. They got it all figured out. But the opposite is true. Behind the scenes, it's a hamster wheel, and they're trying to keep up because just with TV alone, there's 27 things they got to think about, right? And so the more you come in and say, like, I'm going to take problems away from you and make your life easier and simplify at least this one piece so that you don't have to fucking worry about it. I'll just take care of the TV. I'll take care of the creative, the media buying, the setup, the blah, 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 the frequency, the testing, blah, blah, blah. You just show up once a month and fucking record, and I'll take care of everything else. Like, the more you have an offer that's like that, like, busy, successful people say, yes, I need someone like you, right? Like, you're an extension of their team. You're a partner. Drew says, hey, brother. Can't get on now, watch later. Question. In the book, you talked about pricing and retainer versus rev share and who is taking on risk. I understand it's easier to sell a test when you're taking on the risk. Sorry, it's just screen scrolled on me automatically. But I want to structure some deals where it makes sense to charge $3 to $5K per month for a productized back-end service. Niche is business, finance, and real estate, digital expertise. Tests would be the 4-day campaigns, retention-focused emails, etc. All those make sense from a deal and profit share model. But I'm struggling to develop an offer with a $100 test buy and blah, blah, blah per month just to add a predictable revenue stream. Any advice on developing this repeatable offer without it being something they can just copy? I appreciate you. Well, firstly, I'd say, like, if you're dealing with the right people for a revenue share or even really for a retainer, this is true as well. They're too busy to want to copy your shit. Like, you can just hand them everything and they'll say, still, can you just do this for me? Because what they need is, like, they already got too much shit to do, right? They don't need more plates, they need less. Having said that, we have had people, Drew, have success with offering a little test campaign on a revenue share deal and then on the back end selling a retainer. And it sounds a little counterintuitive. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Do a revenue share deal and then do a retainer? And I'll tell you, because people who buy marketing services, and I just talked to a guy like this yesterday, are like beaten wives, right? Like I used to say lawyers are like, when I would deal with them, they're like the kind of people who have been in 6 abusive relationships, and then you show up and say, like, I'm not going to hit you. And they say, okay, and they believe you, and they still kind of brace for the hit that's coming, right? And that's just to say, like, there's a lot of shitty marketing agencies out there that make promises and don't fulfill. A lot of times it's the client's fault and things like that too. They don't answer their phone and can't convert leads. But point being, they have bad experiences, regardless of, like, what the underlying reasons are. And so the biggest barrier to all of this is a magic word called trust. If you've ever, a good book for reading on that, by the way, is The Speed of Trust by Stephen R. Covey. And so the biggest thing that stands in the way of retainers is trust. And so what I found is if you just do something small and cool for them that moves the needle, if even only a little bit, then all of a sudden you have trust. And when you have trust, it's easy to sell a retainer service. So, like, you can just go from, like, hey, let me run a 4-day campaign and get some results for them. And then, hey, okay, now I want to do a $3,000 to $5,000 a month retainer. And the reason why that works is because almost everybody who's, like, been in business for like 10 years has hired at least one SEO company who said, we're going to get you to #1 in the Google, and you're going to make so much fucking money from your #1 rankings, and people are going to call you and you get more leads and more sales and more business. And you know what happened from their perspective? Nothing. For like a year, the promises kept getting extended and extended. And I've seen lots of, like, if you read conversations between business owners, some of them will say, is there really like SEO, or is it all just a fucking scam? Like, that's how they feel about it, because they've all been charged money and, like, had nothing happen. And so when you show up and run a 4-day campaign, even if you just bring them 3 people, like, you did it immediately and your shit worked. And now, like, I trust you. I believe you. I understand what you're saying. So I'm more willing to invest. So if you want to, like, get those things. Having said that, one of the things I suggest in a revenue share deal is look for the kind of client that you can do $10,000 a month with. Meaning you can easily bring them $30,000, $40,000 in sales. Realistically with what they're doing, and usually has more to do with their size and their assets than it has to do with you and your awesomeness. Like, you know, like if you're helping a $10 million company make $30,000-$40,000 in sales, sometimes that's just like one fucking email, right? Like, it's not like you're doing a whole lot for them. It's more to do with them and their size and the traction they already have already. And this is equally true in retainer stuff. So it's like helping bigger businesses to succeed more. But if you want to switch to like retainer, you absolutely can do that. And by the way, like, I haven't talked about this, but we're doing this in the mastermind. When you want to make a connection with somebody, like if there's a specific business you've identified as a good fit for what you do, and this is what happens when you get away from thinking about your thing as a mass market to like really like laser focus and aiming. You don't have to ask them to do shit. You can just do shit for them, and then they'll feel like they owe you anyway, right? Like it's the difference between like, will you hire me to make you a landing page? Versus like, dude, I just made you a landing page. Like I like what you guys are doing, cool, and I want to be part of it. So I built you a landing page that I think will work better than what you're doing right now. So you know, that's another thing is a lot of times people think, I'll wait to get hired and then I'll do stuff, and it's almost always the opposite. If you just understand this one piece, you'll make so much more fucking money. It doesn't matter what market, how much experience is. People generally think, I'll get hired as step one, and as step two, I'll make a plan for how I'm going to get you results. And if you just simply reverse the order and say, I have a plan to get you results, now fucking hire me to go execute it, you'll make so much more money. Because I'll give you an example of this. Like, somebody was talking the other day in another group of agency owners, and they were saying, how do you get your first web design client? And a person said they talked to another restaurant that was local to them, and they said, I have an idea for you for a website. And the person said, okay, what do you have in mind? And they said, because they were local, they said, can I come visit you? The person said, sure. And they said they walked into the restaurant with a mock-up of like, this is what I had in mind. This is what I'm going to build you. Well, that's an example of, I got a fucking plan. You just say yes, sign here, and I'm going to execute on it, right? So like a lot of times we think we need all those case studies and proof and all of that, and they help, don't get me wrong, but all they're looking for is that you know what you're going to fucking do, and you have like a real plan to execute it. So like, again, if she had waited till like hire me and then I'll start building the website, she'd probably be waiting a long fucking time. And how long does a mock-up take? Like, you could do that in Canva. It doesn't have to be a real functional website. Like, you can do the 5-minute version, right? Like, we're not talking about spending hours actually building and coding a site. We're saying like, let's just make a quick little 5-minute mock-up and say, this is what I want to build you. Yes or no? Right? So that's the secret is doing those little things will get you trust so much faster. Is showing up with, I have a plan for you to get you results. Now say yes and I'll execute it. Almost always when I see people stuck, they've got the order of that backwards. They're waiting for somebody to hire to give them permission to figure shit out. And it's like, no, start figuring shit out now, and then go to people and say, I've got it figured out. Like, say yes here and I'll go execute it for you. And the other thing is you can give value in the form of like, hey, I've got an idea for a great website for you, right? Like in the case of that restaurant. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's helpful to you. Dustin says, suggestion please. I'm new at cold calling. Any tips when calling offices to get past the office manager or front desk to talk to the decision maker? Some people call them the gatekeeper. I've done some research, and some people say talk to the gatekeeper, and some people say don't. They call you back, or I'll call back another day. Okay, Dustin, everything I know about all of this, I learned from a guy named Ari Gelper. And I suggest you check out his stuff. He's not well known, but he's like particularly brilliant. Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US, how to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.